episode of There's a Place, the ASMR talk show. The show that feels good to hear. ASMR is, of course, the soft sounds that give certain people, maybe you, yourself, little tinkles in their brain that just kind of make you feel good. That's what we're all about here. So before the show tonight, I was just my hometown of West LA and Venice. It's the Drome comedy show. So all the normal characters who are hanging out here on a Wednesday night were just, 15 miles west. It was everybody, and it was kind of a weird contrast kind of thing because, I'm normally on the west side. Nothing's really going on over there. This one night, everybody is over there. I have to come over here. But they booked me to do stand-up comedy, which was nice of them because, I'm not Richard Pryor. Let's just put it that way. I think stand-up comedy is interesting. I think it's fascinating. I think it's fun. But to me, anyway, it's really kind of more like a hobby. That's how I treat it. So, I could, I'll make you laugh. You watch the show, you'll see. No problem in the funny business department. But, I keep it pretty casual. So, go down there, everyone's there. It's exactly the same vibe. So I get up there and, between you and me, had not really prepared a whole lot. I had a couple shows last week, so I had, I'm up on my stuff. I remembered my jokes, so just kind of up there, kept it very easy, just like how I would do the show at Drome Box, because I was like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a great comedian, but what I can bring is all my experience from Drome Box, and it was Drome Comedy Night of, this kind of relaxed, kind of serious, somewhat persona, and we could bring it in. And so I did that way. I thought the set, it went okay. I'm not, whatever. So it went okay. So I'm outside. I had a little bit of time left. So I'm hanging out. I actually brought an audience member, brought a friend of mine to come. And so Danny comes by, who's the MC of the show, the Drome Box guy. And he was very wound up, wanted everything to go well. And he comes over, shake my hand. He's like, "So how do you think it went?" And yeah, that said it all, right? That's how it went. But it was all worth it, and I still got to do both things and grow, and that's what it's all about, is that it went. That is the point, that it goes and it evolves, and that's what it's all about. My guest tonight, he's off camera a little bit. Looks like he's setting up. The problem with doing an ASMR talk show like this is that when you need to signal to the guests about when it's their time to come on, you can't speak loudly. I can see out of the corner of my eye he's going in the wrong direction, actually. You can't shout out. Oh, here he comes. Well, performer, musician, please welcome Enrique Jesus Hernandez. Hey, what's up?
Chillin', how are you?
Good. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I could tell when you saw that it was time to come in, you threw your phone like it was a grenade.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking this so seriously.
Of course, dude. I don't want to miss my cue.
Well, it's not so serious. And thanks for dressing up, too.
Yeah.
So, what was, for anybody listening at home ever, what was kind of your motivation for, you're gonna be on the talk show, you got some gold body paint going.
Yeah.
It's got kind of a classical vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting some Greek and Roman kind of stuff. I don't know, what do you think, Enrique?
Cool. Well, I think the inspiration for the wardrobe decision for this project was really to represent a survivor. And it didn't start so deep. It started with colors that I thought were really cool together. And then I thought about, what I was, what my role was in this project, and that's to sort of share share a story, and so this is me kind of being on the other side of something that's really tough, but I think there's beauty in it as well, you know. So I appreciate the Greek reference and stuff, because those are sort of ideal male beauty aspects, and I feel like if I can portray any sort of beauty in it, I like that dichotomy, and that's actually one of the goals. So thanks.
Was that, but it wasn't an intentional thing?
For Greek specific?
Yeah.
No, not Greek
But you did want to be an ideal male.
Yeah, dude.
Right?
Of course, every day I wake up and I try and be an ideal, you know.
What's your version of ideal?
Ideal is doing your best, you know, and what our best is changes from day to day. You know, so my best today looks different than what my best yesterday was, and what my best tomorrow will be. So I guess ideal is like no regrets and sort of feeling accomplished. You know, a lot of people are concerned with having fun, but I'm more concerned with feeling fulfilled.
Do you think you're kind of a present-minded person?
Yeah.
Like a live for the moment kind of person?
I am 100% in my body 100% of the time. So I don't escape. I used to a lot. And the result of that was just sort of an empty existence, you know, and there was no productivity creatively, there was no productivity relationship-wise. I was just sort of a waste of space.
So how would you escape?
Drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, it's the only way, right?
Yeah, but you know, there are other ways to escape that I've discovered, and it's food, fuck, fantasy, you know, it's all those ways.
But you could do all that stuff with the drugs and alcohol.
You could, and you can also do all those stuff without.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a daily maintenance on my part to try and still be productive, you know.
Food is a big one.
Fucking A, dude. Food is like, I used to resent having to eat, you know, because my relationship with food was so screwed up. But I actually became vegan 2 years ago. And the process, the journey that's been has been really exciting and creative, and my relationship with food has totally shifted, and I'm excited to be hungry, and I'm excited to, you know, put food into my body, because I feel like it's just medicine, and it's nurturing and balancing the output that I have.
When you're on that vegan thing, you're eating like food that actually like makes you feel good.
Yeah,
You
food that
cut
I can
out-
actually process.
But don't you miss like a big ol' rack of ribs or something like that?
You know, I love barbecue sauce, and I still eat
That's-
containers at a time of barbecue sauce. And I will put barbecue sauce on rice, on fries, on vegetables. So that's sort of, I didn't really need the rib in the first place. I was all about the sauce. I'm a sauce guy. Yeah.
You're
I
a
get
sauce guy.
saucy.
That really probably, you didn't maybe mean to, but that maybe says a lot about your personality. The sauce guy.
Yeah.
You're about the
condiment.
dressing, do you
The
think? Yeah,
dressing.
right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I'm a rib guy, but I like sauce. You
Okay.
can't have the rib without the sauce.
Yeah,
Without
that's
the
true.
sauce, it's nothing.
I used to, you know, when I was a kid, I loved ketchup. Not so much now, only because there's so many other sauces out there.
Ketchup, it's like, think of the Greek and Roman thing, the allegory of the cave.
Yeah.
You know, you eat ketchup and you're like, there could be more flavors out there.
Yeah.
But then once you get past it, ketchup gets left in the dust.
Yeah.
Fries though.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, we're going all sorts of wacky subjects here. But yes, here, so you're doing this Hunger City project.
Yeah.
And this is all concept album? Would you use that?
Shoot, yeah, it's
like
definitely a concept
it's
album.
it's an enclosed thing about being domestically abused.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to that. What, obviously the inspiration of that,
Yeah.
we can probably guess what that was being domestically abused. But what made you want to like do a whole project persona around like I guess I'm always interested in not so much what the art is, but what the motivation of
Yeah.
it was, and that always informs it and makes it more interesting or whatever,
Yeah.
makes it more than a song or
Yeah.
painting, whatever. So, yeah, I guess let's go back to the motivation.
Cool.
What was the impetus for making you want to take a traumatic experience and turn it into like this is going to be like your thing you're doing Friday and Saturday night?
Yeah, literally Friday and Saturday nights.
Yeah.
Well, I think as a person whose main purpose in life is to express and be outward, I think that with that comes responsibility to be truthful, so that there's authentic connection out there. To be completely honest, there are songs on this project that I wrote when I was 16. The inspiration for this project is my mother, who was the one that I witnessed getting abused, and the motivation to execute the project is my sister, who ended up staying with the antagonist of the project, the abuser, until about a year and a half ago, when she started getting abused herself. And it was at that moment, I was working with a voice coach, and we were going through certain lessons, and I just finished a project that ended up not being released, and I was a little frustrated creatively, wondering what my next step as an individual, as an artist, was going to be. And I just felt like it was time for me to share my story in a way that could shed light on an issue that isn't talked about. And the loneliness, my sister's kick-ass. She fucking rocks. She's 17. She inspires me daily, but I know that there are a lot of things that she has gone through that her friends don't relate to. And I remember being in that position when I was in high school and when I was younger. And so I wanted to just include, that's another video. I wanted to include some piece of art that could be inspiring. And so I wrote, inspired by my mom, but executed because it was a story to say and shed light on because of what my sister was going through.
So obviously, and I was gonna talk about the video, but here, we're just in a black thing.
Oh yeah.
So you have your video behind it. So you wanted this to be kind of a 360 sort of project, right? Do you believe it's
for sure.
It really happened, plus it's a song, plus it's a performance, plus you're doing videos and stuff?
Yeah.
Kind of to help you deal with things?
I think as, different people, we can all go through the same experience, but how we translate it is different. And I think we should all look inward and see what our assets are, and sometimes, a person might be an initiator and go the political route, having gone through something that I've gone through. Another person might have whole sculpture pieces based on, aggression and male violence, and I really looked into what I felt as a child and the images that came to mind and tried to express them to the best of my ability. And what happens when I do that process is, I think, a cool middle ground from middle ground of surreal imagery that wouldn't normally mix with what's going on. And that's interesting to me, and I just hope that that's interesting to others,
So growing up in a domestic violence situation, was it like every day you're just living with this thing under you, like, oh, he's gonna snap? Or was sometimes it like normal and then just all of a sudden, or could you kind of sense it, or were there ebbs and flows, or like?
Yeah.
Because, sadly, I imagine your story is not unique.
Right.
In that it must be like, just go on like this.
Yeah.
For everyone. And just never gets addressed or talked about. But like, day to day, what's it like?
Well, being out of it now, I recognize a level of anxiety that was consistent, that was just my norm. There was a moment, I remember going into the house, and my stepfather, who was the abuser, would travel a lot for work at one point for like a period of maybe 2 or 3 years. And I remember thinking, wow, he's coming home today, like maybe for 3 days. And that, I just had to get through these 3 days. You know, I can't wait till he leaves again so that I could just be with my mom.
It's a heightened tension.
Yeah, super heightened tension. And a numbness, you know, there's no, and I think that's where the survival aspect comes in. I didn't realize how I was training myself to detach and not allowing myself to look forward to certain things, because being disappointed hurts so much more than the joy of like being excited about something, you know. So then there was sort of this like lackadaisy approach to things that would happen that were great, you know, because I can't really hold on to those. So it was emotionally draining, you know, and I thought that I was beyond it. There's the song in the video for the child sort of talks about, at the start of the song, I describe my feelings of like moving beyond this, you know, like fuck this situation, I'm gonna go forward. And then suddenly, within the video, image-wise, I'm within the fabric that I was above, but also audio-wise, I'm stuck in the arguments that's in my head. So every time I thought that I broke free, there was either a relationship that I experienced in my life, a work situation where I feel like I wasn't standing up for myself, a moment of low self-esteem, what am I valuing, you know, why am I unable to connect, why do I take advantage of things, why do I feel like, you know, the grocery store owes me 3 free candy bars, you know, if I'm buying 5, why can't I just pay for 2? You know, these like weird ideas.
To just kind of justify other things. It kind of all stems from this one trauma.
Yeah, because it's sort of like an empowered victim, you know, and it's this like righteous aggression that's misdirected.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And if you work in the customer service field, you've seen certain people just are nice, and certain people it's just like no, I want these substitutions, I want to the menu, you know, I want this, they ask like whatever. It's like an entitlement kind of thing.
Yeah.
You think that comes from like a trauma? It must, right?
You know, I feel like everyone's entitlement is like a big monster, you know, that we can either feed or cut off, you know, the source supply. There's a sense of entitlement. I just, to use the term, I just got woke by a friend who basically, she was describing her essay that she was sharing with me was to submit her film or to get some funding for a film, and her experience in her flight as an artist and filmmaker is basically to represent female women of color that are misrepresented or not represented and aren't given proper opportunity. And she shared an experience she had when she was younger playing the card game War with her brother, and there came a point where she put down a queen and the brother put down a king, and he said, I win, and he grabbed the cards. And she said, no, why do you win? And he said, because I put down the king. And she said, but I have a queen. You know, and then the father walked in the room, and the boy said like, hey dad, yeah, king beats queen, right? And the dad's like, yup. And then the mom walked in, and she looked at her mom like, does the queen not have anything? And there was silence, you know. And it was in that moment that I realized I will never know what is, I've always known that I would never know what it's like to be a woman. But I have so many things about, you know, like I'm Puerto Rican, I'm queer, I'm not privileged economically, you know, like there's so many things against me that I immediately felt like I know what it's like to be in your shoes. But the fact that I'm a male is privileged in and of itself, and it's been something that I know cognitively, but I felt in my gut when listening to that story. And I felt for my sister, I felt for every woman who just grows up just being defeated by the king, you know. So the sense of entitlement is very real, and it can be subtle or it can be loud. but I think that I try not to take entitlement personally, if that makes sense, because entitlement, I think, comes from a place of survival, at least my experience. You know, any time that I feel like I'm owed something, it's because I feel like I've actually paid for it in another way.
Yeah. And then people who get caught in the crossfire or whatever, they're on their own thing.
Casualties.
Yeah, but it's all just like a big system, and it's all kind of loops back around. It's interesting you said the grocery store, because I see this acted out at the grocery store.
Yeah.
People, it's just like an emotional battleground there.
Yeah.
Where it's like I think it's because you're in this hole with all this food and abundance, and then you get down to it, and you got to pay for it, and this is like the person standing between you and the food.
Yeah, man.
But did you ever lose it at the grocery store, or?
You know, I brought up the grocery store mainly, and I'll share this in hopes of someone identifying, you know, with the honest truth. I stole food from the grocery store, but it didn't even occur to me that I was stealing. You know, like I would eat groceries while I'd shop, and I'd still have a significant amount of groceries to purchase, and for me it was still a lot of money, but there were also items that I ate that I didn't pay for. And I think there's a development, a digging toward a level of honesty that I try and do every single day, where I discover, you know, new levels. And there was a time where I could have told you that I didn't steal and I was acting in that behavior, and now upon reflection and just like, you know, trying to be my best in things and really looking at what I do, I can share that no, I was a thief, you know. So
that low-level shoplifting.
Low-level, yeah.
A lot of people do it.
Oh man,
it's a symptom of depression.
Yeah.
Like when Winona Ryder, remember when she did that?
Yeah, but she was getting but that's
Barney's
people
or
get
something.
A rush from that stuff, you know. I'm so grateful I need a stage and not like, you know, a felony.
Yeah, just say it's untreated.
Yeah.
It just goes up and up and up. Was there a turning point for you where you were just like, I should probably pay for this?
Well, I share a lot with friends, and I really love who I surround myself with, and I believe that I surround myself with people that really care about me, and everyone is super supportive and non-judgmental, but I think that if they notice something that's out of whack, or if they have experience with overcoming a certain type of behavior, they plant seeds, you know, and try and like guide me a little without pushing me away.
So like, you probably shouldn't do that.
It was, well, I think my friend said bluntly, that's stealing. And I said, what? No, it's not. You know, and then just broke it down to the objectiveness. You know, like you took it, you didn't pay for it. And so sometimes harsh truths work that way for me. Other times I'll hear it and it'll be in my background mind, and I'll still have to do what I want to do. And if I get defeated, then I'll go back to what the wisdom was, you know, and say like, oh yeah, maybe I should try that, or maybe that is the right way.
It's kind of put on the back burner.
Yeah.
How do you get friends like that who will tell you, we'll give you the straight thing? That's what they say about LA, everyone's fake. You know, that's the common complaint.
I really do not subscribe to generalizing people in general in certain places. You know, I'm from New York, and I recognize maybe an attitude that people attribute to New Yorkers that I might have, but I also know really lazy people in New York, you know, and I also know a lot of I don't know, pushovers and really polite people, and I think I'm polite. And in Los Angeles, my experience here has been that, you know, I'm actually surprised at the amount of what I think is unique about LA is that everyone comes here for similar purposes, so we get to link up in terms of like what our passions are and our end goals. But what we discover is that the route to get to those end goals differ drastically. You know, and in my last band, you know, we all wanted to be rock stars, and I wanted a platform where I could just share and express myself and connect, and everyone would have said yes to that as well. but the nuts and bolts of actually building the machine was where we ultimately fell apart. So I feel like people, I think you have to accept information for what it is. You know, if someone doesn't show up to a coffee when they said they were going to show up, if someone doesn't follow through with something, despite what you think the potential of the relationship could be, and despite like how sad or how much of a second chance or the benefit of the doubt you'd like to give, in my mind, I tally, I just got a blank in the word. I tally unreliable. It is unreliable.
Flakiness.
The flakiness. But what I get to do is not rely on that person ever again. And so what happens is that person probably won't stick around in my circle much longer. And I'm okay with the turnover, because then there's someone that is reliable, and then they stick. And then that's how, one by one, slowly but surely, I have a network of people that are reliable. You know, and then certain people, certain people are great at certain things. You know, I have a friend who is shit at texting. You know, and if I want to hang out with him, I text him like 8 days before I'm free, just because it's going to take 5 for him to get back to me. But
why do you put up with that?
Well,
you were just going on, this person's unreliable.
Well, because it's also, the main thing about is just knowing what you're dealing with, you know. And there can be really beautiful people out there who are unreliable. So you don't necessarily have to rely on them, but you'd always like to open an invite. And if they show up, it's awesome. And if they don't, you're not disappointed, you know. But the ones that are close and the ones that I think are smart, it started with listening to guidance and it working for me. And so then I continue to share with them so I can receive guidance to work. And, you know, patience changes every single day, our level of patience. And so sometimes I have the patience to deal with something today that I don't tomorrow, and I try and communicate when my patience runs out in all relationships, you know? Because that could be the reason that, you know, someone's like, why don't you want to hang out with? It's like, I just don't have the patience for what you are.
The harsh truth.
The harsh truth.
Which is what you should expect from your friends.
Yeah.
In the end.
Well, I think truth, I only want the truth, dude. I'm not interested in dealing.
Only?
I do.
Only?
Only?
You don't want anyone to ever lie to you?
No.
Be like...
No.
I'm trying to think what I could lie to you about. This is a good deal on this thing I'm selling you. You don't be lied to a little bit?
No, dude. What can I do with a lie? It's not real.
But in the lie, it reveals some sort of truth. Maybe not about the statement, maybe about yourself or what you want.
Well, then that's...
Because the truth, you're not getting 100% of the information. You're getting the truth, but you're not getting you're only getting one part of the truth. The good part, the bad part, you're not getting 100%. So within the lie contains some truth.
So that sounds like the source of that lie is actually uncomfortable with being completely honest. Right? If they want to deliver truth, but they have to deliver other things with it.
But if you know that it's a lie, then it would tell you the truth, as harsh as it is.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a waste of time. You know, a waste of air, a waste of mind.
Well, of course, when you are dealing with truthful people, you're less likely to get into a situation where you get frustrated or you have to lie to each other or for things like that.
Yeah.
Keeps it on this baseline of...
Well, and I'm a digger, you know. The friends that I was mentioning before, I could say something like, I don't want to... I'm sorry, I have to be up early tomorrow, I can't make it. And they would call me out as in, you're up early all the time, and you make things that are late all the time. So it's not that you have to be up early tomorrow, so why can't you make it? And so that forces me to really think about what I'm saying. And the truth in the situation is, I don't feel like going, or I don't have gas money, or I'm hungry, or there's someone else I want to see. And those are the things that if I were to deliver, there wouldn't be a need for discussion, because the truth sets it all free, you know? And I think what a lie does is just prolong an exchange that is just taking up space where something else could develop, an unknown, something awesome, something like, whatever it is, it's something more, you know?
Like playing a game at a party.
Yeah.
You can spend that time talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and connecting.
Feel a bunch of nonsense.
Yep.
Connection, that's what it's all about. That's why we do this show.
Dude, yeah, I mean...
It's all about...
Yeah, I think you rock.
Oh, well, that's not what this is about. So, this is something I've been dealing, that sounds so harsh, but thinking about recently. So, you know, you decide you're going to do this Hunger City project. It's like, all right, I'm taking, you know, all this lifetime of experiences. I'm going to put into this. I'm going to get this person to help me. I'm going to get that person. I'm going to do this whole thing. Once you put it on SoundCloud, or once you make the video, or you know, it's going to reach an end of like how enthusiastic you are about pursuing it.
Yeah.
How do you pick a new project, or how do you go to another thing? Or are you not at that point yet?
Well, kick-ass question, because that's actually with my closest friends that have been on the Hunger City journey with me. I've been sharing recently, you know, that there is a level of anxiety where I want to do something new and different, you know, but I have to be conscious of the respect for myself and the work that I put into this project and the purpose of it to really play it through. So it's twofold. One is playing it live and finally getting a chance to share it, and it having a life of its own, and it having the opportunity to connect with others is bringing new life to the project for me. I'm getting emotional thinking about it now, but I'm really blessed and fortunate that after every single show, at least one or two people have come up to me and have shared that, you know, they felt like the performance was powerful and they really identified with the story that's being told, and that I just need to recognize as a dream come true as a kid. You know, like that is my dream that I'm actually living out on a daily basis.
Something where you could just go, oh, yes, that's me.
Why. But, you know, everything feels right, and this is my contribution to humanity. And I played a show in the desert right when the project was just finishing. It was one of my first few shows, and two people came up to me individually, and they were older gentlemen, and you know, we both got really emotional, and they just shared how they weren't expecting to hear their story out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of this art thing going on. And what that does is solidify my pursuit to just be authentic, because there are moments where I wish that I kind of had more of an uplifting show, or more of an industrial hard sound, or I wish I could sort of be something that people could mosh to, because I'm a pleasure seeker, you know, and all the, but I've shifted in terms of really being proud of what I can bring to the table instead of wanting to be the things that I enjoy. So playing it out and having it have a life of its own, and the response that I'm getting is pushing me forward, and knowing that this is where I need to be right now. But I'm also working on another project, you know. So what that does, my opinion about what it is to be an artist and to be productive is you just have to work harder. You know, there are only so many hours in the day, so something has to give. Sometimes it's sleep, sometimes it's an extracurricular activity, but I really schedule myself out so that once or twice a week I'm physically in front of someone developing the second project. The rest of the week is about, you know, the back end of what this project is. So the press, I'm reaching out to art galleries and other venues to play, and then my money set aside is I just finished the final video for this project last week.
So they're
5.
Wrapping up.
Yeah.
So okay, so you do have an endpoint. in mind, or something.
Yeah, the endpoint in mind is once all the 5 videos are released, and once I tour Hunger City around once, the second project I'll probably do the same thing that I'm doing, because I'm really building my machine now, and then I can play full sets, maybe like 45 to 50-minute sets of both projects.
What's the other project? Is it?
The other project is cool. Obviously, I think it's cool, and it's fresh for me. It's called Lover's Relapse, and it's really about, we were talking about distractions earlier, food, fuck, or fantasy, and so it's really about the fuck distraction, and relationships, and sort of the grieving of losing validation, or the need for acceptance, and ultimately thinking that there is solution in somebody else before you recognize that there's solution within yourself.
So you kind of take your own experience and put it in your
100%.
Did you ever worry about running out of experiences? Or running out of your own?
You know what? I live a very adventurous life. And that started from a young age. You know, I used to just walk the streets in New York, walk down 7th Avenue when I was a kid, 4 o'clock in the morning, take the subway. I think it was because I wasn't being productive, so there was this pent-up anxiety about me not having a purpose in life, so I just wanted to just consume. So that's what I did. So I do that on a daily basis, you know, like my interactions with people vary from appropriate to absolutely insane, and I really make it a mission to accomplish things every day. So no, I don't worry. You know, I think that was actually the best. I remember, I think I was like 7 or 6, and I wrote a song in my mind, and I didn't want to write another song I didn't want to finish it and get it out, because then that was the best that I had, you know, and there was this anxiety of like, what else could I possibly be? Now I just need to purge, and as soon as I have an idea, I need to get it out so that I can fuck up, learn, grow, be better. Fuck up, learn, grow. Yeah.
And do you feel like all of this, the impetus for all of this, was this domestic abuse situation? That's kind of the thing that it really...
I think that...
It's like the reason you were wandering the streets because you didn't want to be at home, or like...
You know what? I think there's a certain element of me wanting to explore other options, you know? I think there's still a sadness I feel about the idea that I never felt like I had something of my own, you know? If my mom and I were on our own, we had an apartment in Queens, it always felt like it wasn't gonna last long. Anytime we were with my stepfather, I always felt like a guest, you know? And so what I get to do is enjoy my home now, and enjoy my roommate who I love, and feel like a home. But I think the domestic abuse and violence, I always knew from an early age, because my biological father wasn't around either. And there was a lot of anger towards him for A, not being around, and B, when he started to be around, and I started to learn about who he was and develop a relationship with him, he's actually a sweet guy with a great heart who loves me very much. But then I just started resenting his decision. He fucked up, and what he thought was the best for me was actually allowing me to go through a process that was pretty painful. I think that if I continue to create and draw from my experiences, everything, it happened to me because I could handle it, and I get to express it and share about it, you know. And as a kid, the wandering the streets was really, I think that's just the nature of who I am as a person, you know. Hunger City, the title for Hunger City comes from the start of Diamond Dogs, David Bowie's album, when he describes, it's Los Angeles actually, but when I heard Hunger City, that phrase, it articulated the feeling I had when I was 7 after the first argument, when my mom ran out of the house and I had to stay behind and wait for my stepdad to come out of the room so that I could get my shoes and my socks and get dressed to run after her. So there was probably a 15-minute gap where I was just waiting for my stepfather to open the door. And when I finally got dressed to run downstairs, I opened the door. It was on 14th Street and 8th Avenue. And I just, for the first and only time in my life, I felt like I was going to be consumed by the city. I was so scared, and I didn't know where my mom was. I didn't know where to go, and the door closed behind me. And then my mom appeared, and we went to the hospital. But when I heard Bowie say Hunger City, it made me feel for that moment, and so that's why I decided to name it the project.
You said in there a phrase, the first argument. So that was the first time?
That was the first.
You remember a definite?
Yeah, well, that was the first.
This was a timeline. This was a...
Yeah, I think it was like 6 or 7. And I had witnessed my mom get beat by my biological father, but with this particular individual.
It's always a... And then your sister, the same thing?
Yeah.
Why?
It's...
What's the matter with people?
Why
can't they just make a record about it like you?
I thought that abuse was what happened in relationships for a while. You know, these friends that I'm sharing about.
Any relationship you're likely to be around.
Exactly.
In that situation, yeah, it is.
The same friend who pointed out that I was stealing in the grocery store asked me if I thought it was normal to be abusive with my partner. And I said, yeah, people fight all the time. And it wasn't until about 3 or 4 years afterward where I started like having my own ideas of what's appropriate and not appropriate, where I decided that that is absolutely not appropriate to be in a relationship. So the normalcy of the violence and the abuse, you know, not dealing, so many distractions, man, like whether it's food, fuck, fantasy, drugs, you know, alcohol, there's an ability that we have and there are resources that we can use to absolutely numb us for long periods of time until a checkpoint happens in life, whether we get a job that we can now afford a car or we can afford a better apartment, and so now we have furniture, and suddenly we find ourselves in these different, you know, stages of living, not addressing the emotional trauma or the emotional state that we had stayed. And I think my stepfather, I asked him why. And I even in the track, The Child, there's an argument that happens that was, I let myself go back to the place and sort of replay what I had said to him. And I didn't mention this in the track, but I said, why does everything have to be done with something in return? Why can't you just do something to be nice or because you love us? And he said, that's not how it was. He said, that's not how it was done in boarding school. I was like, boarding school? You're really bringing up some stuff that you
went through 1 million years ago.
When you were like 13 years old and you're 40 years old and you have a family and you're treating us as if we're the kids in boarding school. So obviously dealing with someone with their own pain, which is no excuse to pass it on to someone else, but what it does provide is sort of a perspective. And I think a lot of people can have healing when they have perspective. And I think the main thing that I want to get across with this project is that the responsibility is always on the abuser, you know, and there's nothing that I went through a list of things that I thought I did wrong that really upset my stepfather, that caused this argument that's now leading me to the hospital with my mom. You know, and I was angry with my mom for a million things that I thought she did wrong, that if she had just sat down, if she just came home, if she just did this, it wouldn't have happened. But the truth is that abusers are monsters, and it is their fault, you know, and their motive for hate is, in passing on that aggression, is the responsibility lies within them. But the empowering part is that we're not deserving of it, you know. And that's what I try and share about in the Way song, which is that there is something on the other side of what you're going through. You know, there's help, there's safety, security, you know, but you have to share about it. And yeah, in researching shelters and stuff. I never had an experience with a shelter. It was just my mom and I. So I researched different organizations and shelters, and you know, a lot of these websites have like panic buttons that just get you to Google right away. And I feel like, I hope that this record is one of those tools that can be under the radar, you know, that someone can use as an empowering element in their life. That
could be the thing where they're just like, all right, enough is enough.
And yeah, enough is enough, and the abuser will look at it as like, what is a CD, and not throw it out and not be threatened by it because it's in disguise, you know. But if you get the CD, the hard copy, there is a hotline for domestic abuse and violence that's imprinted on the CD.
So your mom and your stepfather still together?
No.
No. Is she with the new guy?
No, she's a lesbian.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's related to the... it's all kind of mixed up together?
I feel like women...
And then you're queer, like you said, so
Yeah.
you think it's a genetic thing, or...
Well, yeah,
It's
I'm
just
definitely born gay. I feel like...
But it all just could have been in the pot, mixing together.
My dad, actually, my biological dad, is effeminate in some ways, and not that that is, you know, necessarily means homosexuality, but there's a sensitivity. I saw this TED Talk about a father who had a gay son, and he really wanted to learn about what it was, you know, to like be gay, and there is a genetic difference, and his whole theory and what he, you know, developed it from his research was that gay homosexuals were bring balance into the world, you know. So if you have a tribe of like 7 guys that are all hunters, the 8th one is going to be gay so that he stays behind. Or if you have like 3 sons, the 4th one's going to be gay so that they're not all killing each other. There's sort of this middle ground.
Yeah.
So, and also in that TED Talk, he talked about mothers being under extreme stress tend to have sort of a sensitive gay child. I'm not sure, but I do know that I also have an aunt who is gay. I think she's back to dating guys, but you know, I think the lesson to learn from my life experience is sort of the fluidity of, you know, the non-judgmental pursuit to just find love and acceptance. And if whatever gender you find that in, you know, I think that people should feel empowered to just embrace it.
It's your thing. Do what you want to do.
It's your thing.
Do what you want to do.
Do what you want to do.
Enrique, any plugs you want to get out there? SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
Yelp. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you have a Yelp?
Give me 5 stars.
Hunger City.
I encourage everyone to check out my website. It's my full name.com. So EnriqueJesusHernandez.com. And you can check out the video that I just released for the bass, and there's a link to the Bandcamp so you can hear the songs. And I've got a whole statement of what Hunger City is about and what my hope is for what I hope to have happen with it.
Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, this is Adam Papagan reminding you that there's a place you can go, and it's your mind. Good night.